Today we're gonna make Old Bay shrimp with capellini. This is a delicious, unbelievable recipe that I created. Nobody else has this recipe. I created it when I went to the Outer Banks out of necessity to make something good with shrimp. I think you're gonna love it. Okay, so let's go over the ingredients. Yes, I made this recipe when we went to the Outer Banks. We wanted a shrimp recipe that kind of like had like that shrimp boil, crab boil flavor. So we're using a good amount of Old Bay in here with all these other ingredients. It's super simple. And by the way, I'm serving this over angel hair pasta. This can be served by itself with like a loaf of crusty bread. All right, I just want to get that right off the bat. For the shrimp, we're going to use, I have today 4160 count, and I have 2 pounds. The recipe is only for 1.5 pounds of shrimp, and I use 3140 count. Does that make a difference? No, it really doesn't. You can use any size shrimp you want. The larger the shrimp, they'll take a couple more minutes to cook. Simple as that. We're gonna mix these shrimp with a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning. So that'll be like a little simple brine for the shrimp. We'll let them sit in that for a few minutes. Pasta is capellini. Capellini and angel hair are super, super thin. I believe if you look up online, angel hair is about 3 or 4 microns thinner than capellini, but for all intents and purposes, they are the same pasta and they cook extremely quickly. Because of that, we're going to make the pasta cook it al dente, and we're going to make the sauce and pour it on it. We're not going to finish the pasta in the sauce. Okay, there's about 200 pasta videos on this channel where I finish every time. We always marry it in the sauce. We're not going to do it here. It's going to be too difficult, and you risk really making a mushy mess. So I don't recommend you do that. Okay, I'm trying to like block that in the comments immediately because I know a lot of people are going to be like, you got to finish it in the pan. For this one, it will be extremely difficult. Even if you have like a 16-inch pan, it will be difficult. We have 24 ounces of cherry tomatoes that I sliced. We have 3 tablespoons of capers that I just rinsed a little bit to remove some of the saltiness from them. I have 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I have another 2 teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning. We're really doing the Old Bay thing here today. 6 cloves of garlic that I sliced. About a 1/4 cup, but this is more, it's about a 1/2 cup of parsley. That'll finish it up, really freshen it up. We have 2 shallots that I didn't mince fine or anything. These are just sliced, okay? Just cut in half or into thirds and then sliced. 1 cup of dry white wine. And then over here I have liquid called Lobster Base by Better Than Bouillon. So this is a good product. It will really seafood up this dish. Obviously, if you have shrimp shells, you can make your own shrimp stock. Better Than Bouillon doesn't make a shrimp one, but there are other brands that make shrimp stock that you can buy too. Okay, so anything like that would be great, but if you don't have either one, you can still use chicken stock for this. And then the final ingredient we have here is 2 tablespoons of cold butter. That's going to be used to finish this sauce before we pour it on the capellini. Again, recipe says 1.5 pounds of shrimp. Nothing's gonna happen if you use 2 pounds of shrimp here. This is just a 2-pound bag, so I said I opened the whole thing. These shrimp are great. I really like them. They're very fresh. They're good, really good for dishes like this. This is 2 teaspoons of Old Bay, and that's that 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just gonna mix this up and get it in there. So I drained these overnight to defrost them. These are frozen shrimp, and FYI, you know, 99.9% of all shrimp consumed in the United States is previously frozen, okay? Just so you know that.
Jim, do you want to explain what Old Bay is for folks who aren't familiar?
Yes, this seasoning is used for crab boils. You know, it's like a Maryland seasoning. The ingredients are celery salt, celery seeds, spices, including red pepper, black pepper, and paprika. So it's a very basic seasoning, but it really has that flavor. When I was very young, I think it was my mom's cousin, we went to Maryland a few times. They lived on a lake, or in bay, like inlet, and we'd go out there with a whole bunch of chicken necks and do crabbing the old-fashioned way, where you would tie the chicken neck with string, put all these strings off the pier, and catch all the crabs. And we caught like 100 crabs or more. We take them, bring them back, big pot outside with Old Bay seasoning. That's pretty much what that seasoning is used for a lot of the times.
You created this recipe when we weren't in Maryland, but we were in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and there was an abundance of shrimp.
You know, I'm sure if you look online, there'll probably be something similar to this, but I think these things are, you know, it's a pretty good flavor combination that maybe, you know, isn't too common. All right, we're gonna let this sit for about 5-10 minutes. Okay, since I have so much shrimp here, we're gonna break out this 14-inch pan. Okay, so this is a 14-inch stainless. You could use a non-stick too. A non-stick would be even easier. And I'm gonna turn the heat to medium. Because I'm using stainless, you need to heat your pan up. If you don't heat your pan up properly, you're gonna have a lot of sticking with your shrimp. One ingredient I didn't show is olive oil, extra virgin. We're gonna use that to sear our shrimp. Let this heat up for about 3 minutes before you add your oil and shrimp. If you're a regular watcher here, you know this. I've said this a billion times on the channel, but if you're a new watcher, yeah, don't put olive oil in the pan right away. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes heating up. Let's see if our pan is good. Take just a touch of water, okay? See that? It's good. So about a 1/4 cup of oil, but I'm just gonna say, just get enough. You gotta be able to coat the bottom here. Okay, see how it's shimmering? And then make sure you have a plate to put your shrimp in because these shrimp are gonna cook. They're gonna cook extremely quickly. If you do it with a smaller pan, you could do 2 batches. I'm just gonna put them all in. And even though we heated the pan up, this still might have a little sticking with these type of shrimp, and that's all right. Try to spread them out. Obviously, because you're cooking 80 to 120 shrimp, you're not gonna be able to flip them all over in the minute and a half that they take to cook. All right, so I'm just gonna start, see how like nothing's really stuck because we heated it up. All right, I'm just gonna turn them around. Now, if you have a smaller pan, you can start flipping, but this is gonna be a little difficult here. You know, we're not gonna get too much color on them. We just wanna cook these until maybe even a little bit less than done. So the whole process here is like 90 seconds. Any ones that are on top, I'm just trying to like move them a bit. Okay, these are good. And don't worry, even if they're not cooked all the way, they'll be, they're going back in there at the end when we make our delicious sauce. Let's put this off to the side and just tent it with foil. Just gonna put a touch more oil. Here are the shallots. Okay, we're gonna let these go for about 2 minutes. Maybe a minute or 2 before the garlic, just because garlic will take a touch less to cook. Garlic. That smells good. Cook the garlic until it gets a little bit of color and nice and fragrant. Cherry tomatoes, okay, that's 24 ounces. I have a pot of water boiling. I should have told you that in the beginning. Bring a pot of water to boil, salted water, because we're gonna cook the pasta at about 5 minutes, whatever, before we're ready, okay? I'm putting a little bit of salt on the tomatoes. Like you could wait, and if you have your shrimp off, like say, you know, something you're waiting for a family for 30 minutes, you could just get up to the point where the sauce is done before you add the shrimp in, and just wait. Then do the pasta and the shrimp, add them in when they're home. I want to get the juice out of these, so I'm gonna let these, and a lot of this is gonna depend on how fresh your cherry tomatoes are, but I'm gonna let these like burst, and then the juice is gonna deglaze the pan itself, but we're also gonna add wine in too to do that. Turn the heat up to about medium-high. Okay, so that's been about 5 minutes, but don't go by time, go by looks, all right? This is what you want it to look like, where they're nice and like starting to burst. Okay, so some of the pan can be clean. You know, there's still a lot of brown spots. You know, I've had people ask me, they're like, you know, this recipe I didn't like. It had cherry tomatoes. I don't like skins. Well, I would just say, why'd you make the recipe? Okay, so like, you know what you're getting into. These are cherry tomatoes. Could you use a different type? Yeah, but I love the texture of these tomatoes with a pasta like this. You know, and again, like we're not doing fancy stuff here. You're not going to go and blanch these tomatoes and remove skin from 100 tomatoes. A cup of wine, keep your head back. And that's a dry white wine specifically. That's a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc that I used. Okay, it's like my preferred cooking wine. Turn the heat up all the way to high. And then you can take your wooden spoon. You want a flat edge wooden spoon like this, not a round. If you have a rounded point, it'll be much more difficult. With your flat edge, you go like this, and then you can just clean your pan now.
That's a roux spoon.
This is a roux spoon, but it's a flat edge spoon, which just makes it really easy to do what we're doing here.
And that's from Brant and Trish.
Brant is a super fan. Brant and Trish, thank you. Okay, they've been Patreon members for a long time on the producer level. Those are the people I always put at the end of these videos. By the way, everybody who's a producer is going to get a free cookbook signed by yours truly when it comes out. And our cookbook 100% is going to be out end of October, beginning of November. All right, so that's reduced by about half. Here is that lobster stock. That's 1 cup of the lobster base stock, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 more teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning. Okay, mix this through. So now this you can just simmer. We need a lot of liquid here for all of the capellini that we're using. I'm bringing the water back to a boil. Once it's boiling, salted water, cook it, and then I'm gonna put it in the colander, and then I'm going to put it in this massive platter I have here, okay? Just get yourself the biggest platter you have. You wanna spread it out. Instead of putting it in a small bowl where it's all gonna clump, spread it out. That's why we want a lot of sauce to go over it. Make sure you save all of your pasta water too. Just save your pasta water. All right, so I'm gonna cook this capellini. I wanna show you this here. You see how thin that is? It's super, super thin. This says on this bag, it says 3 minutes for al dente. So stay at the pot the whole time, check it, just bite it, and just take it out. You don't want it to be mushy. Okay, so my pasta is probably a minute from done, so I'm gonna put in about a cup of pasta water right now. Let's get our shrimp in and all the juices. You can add the capers in at this point too. Okay, just let that keep cooking through everything. Are on the side of a little bit hard than soft. This is just very low heat, okay, simmering through. What I like to do is just spread it out as much as possible. And you can even put a little bit of your pasta water, it doesn't matter, because we're gonna need more of it. And I'm just gonna put a little bit over here right now so it doesn't dry out too much. And a little bit of oil. That'll be good for a second. Let's turn that off, heat is off. So here it is, we're gonna just kind of emulsify this butter in there, and we'll just whisk 1 cube at a time. And it's just gonna richen up the sauce a little bit. Okay, you can add some of that parsley. That's the consistency and everything that I'm looking for. I have plenty more pasta water if I need it. Let's taste it, season it up, and then let's get it on top. You could time this a little better. You could do the pasta a few minutes later than I did. Oh, that tastes incredible. I don't think it needs anything except for maybe a pinch of hot pepper. And then we're just gonna pour this on, all right? That's what I like to do here. Now, you're thinking you have too much liquid here. I don't. A little bit of pasta water. Okay, just doing a little bit of mix up here just so we get everything coated. We want everything incorporated here. Touch more parsley. James got down here fairly quickly, so this is like pretty much right away.
Very good. It's one of my favorite things.
Mine too. You want to give any flavor notes? Anything can make it better?
Well, no, like, it's perfect. Like, I think you guys know it's, like, one of my favorite things. It's such a good combination, like, angel hair and shrimp. And then, like, the Old Bay and the tomato sauce, so good. It's getting a 10 out of 10.
All right. Thanks, James. Right. I mean, yeah, I kind of felt he would, but, didn't want to jump ahead.
James's your favorite thing, like the thing that you ask for every year for your birthday is what?
Seafood boil.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like, has some of those flavors, but in a pasta.
In pasta form. And you could eat this by itself, or you could add a loaf of bread to it and just skip the pasta if you like. And you don't have to use this pasta either. You could use an easier pasta to cook, and like linguine or something would be great too. All right, we will see you next time.